Hello, BookTube. I've got a little mail for you on a rainy Monday morning. Very humid, very rainy, with rain more or less making a guest or starring appearance in the forecast for the next week. Either overcast or with a heavy chance of rain well into the weekend. And with the temperatures going up that whole time. So it's, if you have a moment, spare a prayer for a little Frida Bee. Uh, because she hates the rain more than any dog that I've ever had. She hates the rain. But I've got some packages here. Two of them I know where they come from, but the rest is quite a bit here. So let's take a look at what we have. This first one is light as a feather, so it could be really small. Oh, it is really small. Let's see. Oh, it's a Penguin Classic. Fantastic. I get Penguin Classics in the mail sometimes, and I'm really appreciative of that because there's no bigger fan of Penguin Classics than I am. So this is called The Tale of Princess Fatima, Warrior Woman, the Arabic epic of Dat al-Himma, with cover art by M. Niwa. Not your usual staid penguin cover art. That is incredible. Right down to the little detail of the boot overlapping with this new broad white penguin banner that I still haven't gotten used to. There's no pub sheet with this thing. I'm assuming it's out already. But what have we got here? A fearsome sword-slinging heroine who defeated countless men in stealth attacks on horseback. Dat al-Himma, or Princess Fatima, was secretly given away at birth because she wasn't male, only to triumph as the most formidable warrior of her time. Known as She-Wolf, woman of high resolve and calamity of the soul, she lives on in this rousing narrative of female empowerment, in which she leads armies of more than 70,000 men in clashes between rival tribes and between Muslims and Christians, reconciles with her father after taking him prisoner, and fends off her infatuated cousin, who challenges her to a battle for the right to marry. Okay, all right, fantastic. So the cover compares her to Circe, Mulan, Wonder Woman, and Katniss Everdeen. So this is a new addition to the Penguin Classic line. Princess Fatima. Okay. All right. Let's see what this next one is. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Okay. I have already mentioned this to you. This is the new biography from Claire Tomlin, whose biographies will be known to a lot of you. That they are everywhere. New bookstores, used bookstores, libraries. And her new book is about H.G. Wells. Can't fault that at all. This is an author I love. I'm a little disappointed. I hadn't really realized how small this would be. This comes out on the 2nd of November, and that's a little disappointing. This could easily be 800 pages. But we don't have a sheet in this one either. But let's see what we have here. So this comes out in early November. In this book, Tomlin brings to life the early years of H.G. Wells and traces his formation as a writer of astonishing originality and ambition. Born in 1866, the son of a gardener and a housekeeper, Wells faced poverty and ill health from a young age. With determination, he won scholarships and worked towards science degrees, though he failed his final exams, and he was soon writing textbooks, involving himself in politics, and contributing to newspapers. Still suffering from multiple physical breakdowns, Wells began to make his name by writing essays and reviews. But it wasn't until the publication of his story, The Time Machine, in 1895, that he attained the success he had so longed for. His book, which transformed the way readers saw humanity, was hailed as an extraordinary accomplishment. So Claire Tomlin has written biographies of Dickens and Samuel Pepys, but she also wrote a memoir. She wrote a memoir called A Life of My Own that was really good. I guess I'm kind of curious why this is just the early years of Wells's life. Is that actually true? 194 is the end of this narrative. I set out to write a book about the young Wells, covering his formation, the years in which he worked, thought, and developed his skills as a writer. I see I have followed him into his 40s, my excuse being that he still seems and behaves like a young man, and that he was still struggling to achieve the status he felt he had earned. I must also confess that I have found him too interesting to leave. Ambitious, generous, hard-working, and astonishingly energetic and original in his thinking. He was playful, fun to be with, attractive to women, and eager for sex. He had strongly held political views favoring social equality, republicanism, and the establishment of world government. He saw himself as a working writer and not an artist in an ivory tower. He was rightly proud of his achievements and expected to be well paid for his work. He could be unreliable, selfish, even vengeful. Okay, well, if you found it hard to leave him, then why leave him at all? Why not write a full-length biography? Why not give us a book much longer than this? I guess I don't understand that. But I'm happy to see it anyway. And maybe the concentration on Wells's formative years will happen in greater detail than might happen in a longer book. Although I can't help but think there have been books on full-length biographies of Wells that spent more time on his formative years than the whole length of this book. I guess we'll see. Then we have the two packages that I know where they come from because I read the labels. These are the results of a mistake on my part. Some of you who watch the channel regularly will know that in June I went up to Vermont, to the house of Mark Richardson, of Richardson Reads, another booktuber, his very, very old Vermont house. I brought Frida up there so that we could go on a bit of a vacation in very, very small town Vermont next to a rushing river. And it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I knew that I was going to be there for a while, not just a weekend, so I made the mistake of suggesting to some book publishers and other friends of mine that they should send mail there if it's going to arrive during the window when I'm there. I should never have done that. And as a result of that, the books have continued to arrive there. So that's what these next two are. Let's see what this first one is. I can almost guarantee that a lot of the books that have continued to arrive at the old house in Vermont aren't things that I actually requested. They just were sent to that address. Okay. All right, this next one, good. Fantastic. This is... yeah, this is out already. This is late getting to me. This is The Sound of the Sea, Seashells and the Fate of the Oceans by Cynthia Barnett. I already read an advanced electronic copy of this, and this is the finished copy, which is all about seashells. And I thought it was captivating, completely captivating. Throughout this book, the author brings to life not only the hidden animals that build the shells, but the unseen figures behind their history and science. From enslaved people whose fossil seashell discoveries in the southeastern United States contributed to early knowledge about geology, to the women who illustrated and wrote some of America's first shell guides, she returns again and again to the central theme of listening, to unheard voices, to traditional wisdom, to nature, and to science. Although shells reveal how humans have altered the climate and the sea down to their very chemistry, shells are also sentinels of hope for alternative energy, carbon capture, and other solutions that lie beneath the waves. I had the pub sheet in one hand and the book in the other, so you could not see me doing airport tarmac levels of virtue signaling there. I want to stress that there's more to the book than current year buzzwords like how many women were involved in seashell research, how many enslaved peoples were involved in seashell archaeology, and how many energy alternative seashells might point the way to. The bulk, 99% of the research that or publicization or ideas, exploration has ever been done on any of this was done by white men. Now that doesn't mean white men are better than anybody else. It means they had all the opportunities to go to schools, to do the research, to go out into the field. And this book accurately reflects that. The pub sheet does not. The pub sheet makes this sound like a political tract, as in the 21st century in 2021. We are obligated to make everything sound. If you talk about anything in the 21st century in any way, it has to be political. But the book is not. The book is actually really, really good. And I'm glad to have a finished copy. That's wonderful. Okay. Then we have a box, also from Vermont, This is probably multiple things. Let's see. Feel a little bit bad that these things are showing up there with such regularity. I should never have given a separate address. So much easier to just get somebody here to mail stuff up there rather than get stuff sent up there. What's the matter, baby? Uh-huh. Oh, you're so cool. She's so depressed because it's raining. What is this next one? What is in this box? Big thing, whatever it is. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Okay. We saw this is due in October. We saw the predecessor to this. This is Frank McDonough, and this is the Hitler years, only this is volume 2, Disaster, 1940 to 1945. And you'll remember the earlier one, the earlier volume wasn't quite as big as this. It was about the rise of Hitler and the Nazis, and you might remember from that earlier volume the signature of these books, which is that they are illustrated very heavily throughout. Just illustrations on almost every page. As opposed to the usual thing with a World War II book this big, which would be an insert of pictures in the middle. Instead, there are pictures all throughout this thing. I think I just saw him again. Yes, indeed. There he is talking with the Grand Mufti, Haj Amin al-Husseini, who very much looked the other way while radio broadcasts throughout the Middle East referred to Hitler as the reincarnation of Muhammad. One way or another, I read and really liked the first volume. I went into it a little bit uneasy, thinking maybe I'm mostly just going to like this for the pictures, but the book was really good too, no matter how well trod the ground is. And I also had the pleasure of running a review of it in Big Canoe News in northern Georgia, which I believe is for the July issue, so that issue should be out. And I want to say available. I'll use available in heavy air quotes, but you can always subscribe to Big Canoe News if you want the physical newspaper, which is a beautiful thing. It is a wad of pages in full color that show up at the beginning of every month. And if you want that experience as opposed to the online experience, you can simply subscribe. $30 a year will get you 12 Big Canoe issues once a month. And nestled in the heart of that big issue every month is a print newspaper book section edited by yours truly. We ran a review of the first volume of this. No idea if we'll do for the second one in October. But this is great. What have we got here? Here the author completes his brilliant 2-volume history of Germany under Hitler's Third Reich. At the beginning of 1940, Germany was at the pinnacle of its power. By May 1945, Hitler was dead and Germany had suffered from a disastrous defeat. Hitler had failed to achieve his aims of making Germany a superpower and had left her people to cope with the endless shame of the Holocaust. Despite Hitler's grand ambitions and the successful early stages of the Third Reich advances into Europe, the author convincingly argues that Germany was only ever a middle-ranking power and never truly stood a chance against the combined forces of the Allies. Well, we shall see. He might not have stood a chance of winning World War II against the combined forces of the Allies. But I'm not 100% sure what the fate of Nazi Germany would have been if Hitler had not invaded Russia. What if he hadn't done that? Even if he was 100% sure of the Russians turning on him, bloodthirsty, monomaniacal killers tend to turn on each other. Even if he was 100% sure of that, if he hadn't done that, if he hadn't expended the men and material, if he'd instead used that to entrench his borders on all sides, I don't know how the war would have happened. It sounds like the author is going to contend that Germany would have been defeated anyway. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe that would have happened, but I'm not sure what form it would have taken. A lot of people concentrate in the Eastern War, the war between Germany and Russia. A lot of people concentrate on the gigantic numbers of fielded men and casualties that the Russians suffered, and don't pay enough attention, I think, to the massive amount of manpower that Germany expended there, that if they had not done would have been available. But one way or another, I originally thought when I looked at the first volume of this that this was mostly sort of a pictorial history, and it's much more than that. So I'm glad to have the second volume. Great. And then we'll finish up with a big package here. It's big and it's ungainly, so it's certainly more than one book. So maybe a publisher has lumped a couple of books together. Maybe I wasn't aware that I had recently made multiple requests to the same publicist, which is usually the reason why this would happen. But maybe I did. These things are just no way to stop the asbestos from flying everywhere. Oh, it's a lot of books. Oh, my. Okay, it's going to be messy. It's a lot of books. Goodness gracious. Oh, this is the good folks at Basic Books. Okay, they have made me a little care package. It's a care package, baby. Does that perk you up at all? No? No. No. Okay, so this first one, great. Let's see what we have here. This is basically a good look at Basic Books' fall lineup. The first one is going to have a lot of you rushing right over to the pre-order button. I'm not dissuading that at all. This is by Andrew Pettigrew and Arthur de Wedderburn, and it is The Library, A Fragile History. A new, big, fat history of libraries. So you librarians out there might want this for your library, but you library friends, you library lovers out there, there's about 2 or 3 books like this every year, and none of them are ever this long. So what have we got here? I don't think any of these are going to have cell sheets in them. No, all right. Famed across the known world, jealously guarded by private collectors, ornamented with gold leaf and frescoes, or filled with beanbags and children's drawings. The history of the library is rich, varied, and stuffed full of incident. In this book, the historian authors trace the rise and fall of literary tastes and reveal the high crimes and misdemeanors committed in pursuit of rare manuscripts. In doing so, they reveal that while collections themselves are fragile, often falling into ruin within a few decades, the idea of the library has been remarkably resilient as each generation makes and remakes the institution anew. Great. Fantastic. Oh, this is just huge. Great. Okay, well, that claim on the back is absolutely true. We know that there were some kind of idea of letting people borrow your books and then return them. We know that existed even when the books were carved on stone. That's at the infancy of human civilization, almost hand in hand with the infancy of agriculture or wall building. So we know this idea has been around for a long time, and amazingly, it's amazing to me how often that idea has been relatively egalitarian, at least egalitarian according to the standards of the day. It's amazing to me how often in history, in human history, the idea of the library, something along the lines of what we know, which is that mainly the institution isn't charging you. It's amazing to me how often that idea has cropped up independently. Convergent evolution. So that is fantastic. So this comes out in November. A lot of these are going to have autumn dates, I think. I'm going to try and be very careful because I've got stuff flying everywhere here, and I don't want anything to be flying into the beans' lungs or mine. What is this next one? Goodness gracious. Okay, this next one is by Edward Shawcross. This is The Last Emperor of Mexico. This comes out in late October. In the 1860s, Napoleon III, intent on curbing the rise of American imperialism, persuaded a young Austrian archduke and a Belgian princess to leave Europe and become the Emperor and Empress of Mexico. They and their entourage arrived in a Mexico ruled by terror, where revolutionary fervor was barely suppressed by French troops. When the United States, now clear of its own civil war, aided the rebels in pushing back Maximilian's imperial soldiers, and the French army withdrew, abandoning the young couple. The regime fell apart. Maximilian was executed by firing squad, and Carlotta, secluded in a Belgian castle, descended into madness. Assiduously researched and vividly told, The Last Emperor of Mexico is a dramatic history of European hubris imperialist aspirations clashing with revolutionary furor, and the old world breaking from the new. The one thing that the back cover copy doesn't make clear is that Maximilian was that Austrian Archduke and Carlotta was his wife. Okay, fantastic. Haven't read a book on this weird little interlude in Mexican history in quite some time. I don't think I've ever read a book devoted exclusively to that. So that'll be a lot of fun. Let's dust off and clean off the next entry here. I'm trying my hardest not to let any of this spill out. Okay, what have we got here? Let's see here. Okay, this next one is by Rob Dunn. Very pretty thing. This comes out in early November. This is A Natural History of the Future, what the laws of biology tell us about the destiny of the human species. What have we got here? This is a care package from Basic Books. How wonderful. Our species has amassed unprecedented knowledge of nature, which we have tried to use to bend the planet to our will. In this book, biologist Rob Dunn argues that such efforts are futile. We may see ourselves as life's overlords, but we are instead at its mercy. In the evolution of antibiotic resistance, the power of natural selection to create biodiversity, and even the surprising life of the London Underground, the author finds laws of life that we cannot annul. When we grow crops, dump toxic waste, or build communities, we provide new materials for old laws to shape. Life's future's flourishing is not in question. Ours is. As ambitious as Edward Wilson's sociobiology and as timely as Elizabeth Colbert's The Sixth Extinction, this book sets a new standard for understanding the diversity and destiny of life itself. Okay. All right. Okay. So life's future flourishing is not in question. Ours is. That's going to be a tough line to walk there between saying that humanity is not the master of the planet and also saying what science absolutely demonstrates, which is that humanity has enough mastery of the planet to wipe itself out. I guess maybe it's just one species, although we'd take a lot of species with us if we went. That's interesting. But then again, like I've said on this channel many times, I like it when a book picks a fight. I like that very much. Then the author is saying, I'm not just regurgitating what I saw in the archives. I have a new opinion, and I'm going to leave you to decide. So what is this next one? Oh God, sorry, this is a messy package, and did not need to be. I might add, did not need to be. There's no reason for these envelopes packed with this flaking stuff. There's no reason for these to be used. There are boxes in the world. There's no reason for this at all. There's no reason for this or for the fad a decade ago used to be that if you had a box to pack, you would pack it with 1 million of those little styrofoam peanuts, those packing peanuts that went everywhere and that could not be stopped from going everywhere. I'd like to think that publishers are moving beyond these, that the goal here should not be to create a mess at the receiving end. But I've definitely got a mess here. I've got stuff all over the pillows of this couch that I don't think is healthy to breathe in for me or the little bee. But anyway, oh, great. Okay. This next one is Noble Ambitions, The Rise and Fall of the English Country House by Adrian Tinniswood, who a lot of you will know that name, a good historian, someone who wrote a book called The Long Weekend that I rather liked. Like it more, actually, in reflection than I did when I read it. It stuck with me. And those of you who have watched this channel with an unhealthy amount of interest will know already how much I love English country houses. I have been in a huge number of them. I've actually been a guest in a huge number of them. And I've also studied their history, the way that history has changed over time. This is a bullseye. So this comes out at the end of September. As the sun set slowly on the British Empire, its mansions fell and rose. Ancient families were reduced to demolishing the parts of their stately homes they could no longer afford. Dukes and duchesses desperately clung to their ancestral seats, and a new class of homeowners bought their way into country life. A delicious romp. Noble Ambitions pulls us into these crumbling halls of power, leading us through the juiciest bits of post-war aristocratic history, from Mick Jagger dancing at debutante balls, that is, to the scandals of Princess Margaret. Capturing the spirit of the age, Tinniswood proves that the country house is not only an iconic symbol, but a lens through which to understand the shifting fortunes of the British elite in an era of monumental social change. Okay, well, I'm all for it, absolutely. Let's see, let's do one more here. We've got a couple more to go, and then we'll be done. And I can try to clean up here. So this next one is nice and big. It is for early October. Early October, and it's by Mark David Baer, and it's called The Ottomans. Nice, big, new history of the Ottomans. Now it's getting in the computer, so let's hope the video works. The Ottoman Empire has long been depicted as the Islamic Asian antithesis of the Christian European West. But the reality was starkly different. The Ottomans' multi-ethnic, multilingual, and multi-religious domain reached deep into Europe's heart. Indeed, the Ottoman rulers saw themselves as the new Romans. Recounting the Ottomans' remarkable rise from a frontier principality to a world empire, the author traces their debts to their Turkish, Mongolian, Islamic, and Byzantine heritage. The Ottomans pioneered religious toleration even as they used religious conversion to integrate conquered peoples. But in the 19th century, they embraced exclusivity, leading to ethnic cleansing, genocide, and the empire's demise after the First World War. Wow, okay, great. So a nice, big new history of the Ottomans. Fantastic. Boy, what a great care package this is, no matter what kind of literal package it came in. And then we have our last one here. This will be the last one we do. Clean it off just a little here. Try to. What have we got here? Oh, fantastic. Boy, this is right up Steve's alley here. I want to move this package. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that. Let's move it over there, out of harm's way. Oh, okay. This next one, there's so many of these titles that so many of you I already know are going to be interested in. This is by Roderick Beaton, and it's called The Greeks, A Global History. Virtually not a dud in this bunch. And I know I have come to know so many of your reading tastes over the years that you're going to have a lot to look forward to from basic books. So what have we got here? This comes out in late October, and it is a sweeping history of the Greeks from the Bronze Age to today. More than 2,000 years ago, the Greek city-states, led by Athens and Sparta, laid the foundations for much of modern science, arts, politics, and law. If you say so. It's a familiar claim. Let's just put it that way. It's a familiar claim. I don't think it holds up at all. I don't think that you can draw lines of continuity any further past the Enlightenment. But let's see. But the influence of the Greeks did not end with the rise and fall of this classical civilization. As the author illustrates, over 3 millennia, Greek speakers produced a series of civilizations that were rooted in southeastern Europe but ranged widely across the globe. In this book, the author traces this history from the Bronze Age Mycenaeans, who built powerful fortresses at home and strong trade routes abroad, to the dramatic Eurasian conquest of Alexander the Great, to the pious Byzantines who sought to export Christianity worldwide, to today's Greek diaspora, which flourishes on 5 continents. This is a story of the Greeks and their global impact told as never before. Okay, so a great, big, fat new history. These are 500-page books. A fat new history of the Greeks over thousands of years. Great, fantastic. So look at this. Look at this. This is all arrived in one package. The Greeks, a sweeping history. The Ottomans, a sweeping history. Noble ambitions about English country houses in the immediate wake of World War II, when so many fortunes were dying and so many Americans were being brought in to prop them up. A natural history of the future. The last emperor of Mexico, and the library, another huge history. So we've got 3 huge histories here, all of general interest. Just incredible, fantastic. Right, so we've got all of those. And then we've got the Hitler years, disaster, 1940 to 1945. The Sound of the Sea, about seashells, believe it or not, a fascinating book about seashells. We've got Claire Tomlin's new biography about the early years of H.G. Wells. And finally, we've got one of the newest of all the Penguin classics about Princess Fatima, the great cover artwork. So there is the mail, at least a chunk of it that has arrived today. With many thanks to the folks at Basic Books. That would have been a smaller mail haul without them. More mail is coming today, and if I'm up for it, I will definitely open it all with you. But in the meantime, if I remember, I will list this basic book bonanza here, because a lot of these things, the library, the Ottomans, the Greeks, a lot of these things are things you're probably going to want to keep an eye out for yourself. But one way or another, I'm going to wrap this up. But I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.